increasing your burden, which is your cost of living tax, right? It's a burden. And then we got the mainstream media, and they're telling us how it's a great thing because the value of your house, like who are they talking to? A select group, right? There's a certain, the minority of Californians they're talking to now when they come up with that crap. Do they even know that? Would they be pushing this kind of news and telling people how great it is that would they say it more like, hey, the price of housing is going up and that's not a good thing. The cost of housing has been going up, and they're not going to talk about the market manipulation that's taking place. They're not going to talk about the fact that you could house every homeless man, woman, and child in America and still have 90% of the vacant available housing left over, not including hotels and motels. Okay, when it comes to all this, we got a housing shortage, that's a problem. Oh, yeah. We're not going to talk about how that's an affordable housing shortage. We're not going to talk about how high housing prices are not a good thing, right? Okay, for those that have to pay that burden. It's a burden. The price is a burden. But no, they'll spin it as a euphemism and tell you value. It's great value. Now your house is worth more. They won't point out to you that, hey, if you wanted to sell your house and cash in your chips and then move somewhere else, how you're going to pay a lot more property taxes. Even if it's a straight, you sell your house for 500 grand, you buy another house for 500 grand that you like better, that you think is, this is a better neighborhood, whatever. You're going to pay more taxes because it's going to be based on the price you paid for the house. So if you paid 100 grand for your house 20 years ago, literally, okay, you are going to pay taxes on 100,000. Okay, right? 1 or 2% the max. That's all I've ever heard of. A property tax. They split, 1/4% or 1/8 of a percent, whatever how they do it when they decide to raise your property taxes. But you're going to be paying taxes. You're going to be paying that 1 or 2% on $500,000 now. Do you understand how that's not a good thing? That means your burden, your perpetual burden. Remember, taxes never go away. Even though the politicians and the tax assessor, they all live and die, and you're still going to be paying it forever. Your kids will pay it, their kids will pay it, and more they're going to raise it, right? This is the only answer is to just keep raising your cost of living tax, to stay on this trajectory. It's all they know. Beat your head against the wall 1 billion times, and maybe on the 1 billionth and one time, we'll fix it. But it's all we know. We've been trained to believe this is it, man. We've got these insurmountable, overwhelming problems in society. We need all those social welfare workers, and now their jobs, their livelihood depends on the poverty continuing. Do you understand? In order for them to have job security. Do you understand? So their jobs depend upon the problems persisting. Same with many in law enforcement and the jailers and the criminal industrial criminal industrial complex, in the court system, judges, lawyers, all these people depend on crime continuing, okay, in order for them to have relevance, to have security. Do you understand how insane this is and how far down this evil rabbit hole to hell we are, and how we need God? We need him so much. All these dubious wars, does it get more serious? I talk about life and death. Yes, it is. People are dying out in the cold, literally. And they're not criminals. Remember, folks, if they were criminals, they'd be safely ensconced behind bars, getting 3 hots and a cot, medical care, dental care, education, resettling money, right, when they get out of jail, help and all counseling and all that. Because they were criminals, rapists and murderers and gangsters and thieves and carjackers and extortionists and embezzlers. And the sky's the limit. It never ends, right? So I could list different crimes that land people in jail. But for the small stuff nowadays, they just got to let you out. So you've got to really be bent. If you want to survive and you're destitute, you've got to commit a kind of a heinous crime, for lack of a better term, but a serious crime in order to really ensure that you're going to stay in jail for a period of time and be safe, to have a sense of security in jail behind bars, to have 3 hots and a cot. Do you understand? That is what it's come to. People got to understand, folks, we are in a lot of trouble. Okay, there's just no way around it. We're in a lot of trouble, and only God can help us now. So turn to God. I don't have any better advice to tell anybody. is that I can only do so much. I'm just one human being, a servant, a friend of God, a servant, a friend of humanity. I want the best for everybody because I understand that we are inextricably interconnected, that quite literally your happiness is my happiness. And I know the components that comprise true happiness, and freedom is at the top of that list. And that has to include financial freedom, because freedom is an absolute term, like free. It doesn't get any cheaper than that. It doesn't get any better than that. Freedom is perfect and absolute without any conditions. And it can't be held for some and not others. We need to learn that the trick is that we've got to learn to be born free, to insist that our offspring, the next generation, is born free. But instead we're going the opposite direction, ever increasing debt. People are born more and more into debt. More and more burden is placed upon their neck. We've got children now killing themselves at unheard of ages you never heard of before. I mean, people are losing their will to live. This is a part of the game. It's social Darwinism. They make us so miserable, people lose their will to live. It just gets too hard. People drop out of the game. They say, I don't care, come what will. I don't care if I die out in the cold. I'm a failure anyhow. I put a bullet through my brain. Suicides are high. And you know that finances are a large part of that, especially for men with all their false pride and crap. Can't admit when they fail and can't accept the implications thereof, the social consternation from their family and peers. So they'd rather blow their brains out than face that stuff. This is what's going on. This is what they've done to us. And if anybody thinks we're not in a lot of trouble, I got news for you, folks. That's the first thing you got to understand. Get on your knees. Get on your face. Say, God, help us. God, be gentle with us, because I got the fear of the Lord in my heart. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Just the beginning. And once you get the fear of the Lord and you accept that deep, profound reverence, you say, oh my God, what have we come to? What have I come? What have I acquiesced and capitulated to? What have I gone along with here by being an establishmentarian and saying it's okay that we have the status quo and not wanting to rock the boat and, you know, all my vested interests in this worldly temporal existence. I mean, God help me to not be evil and vile in your sight. God help me to repent. Help me to be a fragrant aroma in your nostril and not a stinky, pungent one. Okay? Help me to not be evil. I want to be found worthy and deserving of inheriting a better existence from here. I want to go to a place where people are truly free, absolutely free, universally free. Okay? And that is the reality in that place. And that's what I want to live for. And I want to try to, you know, work that way right now in the here and now in this world and fight the good fight and carry my fair share of the weight and convince others that they want to do that. And this is the path to happiness, is by pleasing you, God, because you're the granter of true happiness. You'll teach me what the components, what the ingredients to being truly happy are. And I'll strive for those things, and I'll be on the right path. This is what God, he doesn't hide it. It's right there. He loves us more than anybody ever could or can, you know, and that's, he wants us to have the information. He wants us empowered with the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. The Holy Spirit of God is called the Spirit of Truth. I mean, it's just all black and white and logical and simple and common sense and pragmatic and practical, and it's mathematic and scientific, and it's based on reality and stuff that really just makes sense. That's it. I mean, God makes sense. Trust in God makes sense as our only hope, only viable hope, because this is an utter failure. We're not going to succeed by being divided politically as Democrats and Republicans, or as socialists and capitalists, or as liberals and conservatives. It's just nonsense. It's made up nonsense. We all have similar desires, okay? So, you know, put all that stuff aside and understand, you know, we all want basically the same stuff, right? We want to be free. We want to be prosperous. We don't want to have too much burden on us. We want nice stuff for our kids and ourselves, and we want to be comfortable, and we want to be safe and secure and content, right? So, you know, if you want those things for everybody, then work for them. Understand that's the path to happiness. It's God's. What is your will for your fellow man? Go out and prove you're my friend. Go out and prove you're my servant. Go out and be a friend to humanity. Go out and be a servant to humanity. Serve in whatever capacity that God puts on your heart, but just do something. Speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about what has caused the problems on a local level, where they're emanating from, and how the only possible way we're going to succeed at putting the axe to the root of this problem. And the Federal Reserve these are the top money lovers and the politico sycophants who are supposed to be servants of the public. We pay them to serve us well, and they betray us. They're masters of the money masters. They know which side their bread is buttered on. They know who's signing their paychecks, man. So they suck up to the Federal Reserve. Okay, and JFK was getting rid of them. Is it any wonder why these people did what they did and what point in history? And it's just so evil and vile. I mean, these people throwing away their souls gleefully. It's just hard for the average person to understand how anybody could be that evil and think they could ever get away with it and have no concern about answering to their owner someday, to the Creator God Almighty on Judgment Day, the day of reckoning. I mean, it's just unfathomable for most people, because most people would not do a lot of things for any amount of money. And I'm so glad that God has put that in my heart to understand that and cherish and value that above all else. Say, no, I repel, I recoil from such a philosophy that think it's okay to abandon your conscience for a price tag. No way, man. No way. But I understand I live in a world where the people ruling me have done that very thing. And this is horrible set of circumstances, horrible state of affairs, horrible status quo, a horrible establishment, a beast system, man. God, we are in trouble. But I do know this much, folks. I know true capitalism. And let me be very clear about this. I know where it leads. It's egalitarian. JFK was a true capitalist. And it leads to a condition, a situation where it causes a rising tide of prosperity that lifts all ships, all boats. Okay? That's it. That is progress. That's exactly what you want. That's the way you gradually set the captives free. The people end up free through prosperity. Yes, their sense of security goes up concurrently with that. So their happiness level goes up, their contentment level goes up, their sense of peace and joy, security, prosperity, freedom, all those good things that constitute happiness go up. It's that simple. That's progress. That's what we're looking for. And it cannot be held by a select few. It cannot be this perpetual increasing wealth imbalance. It can't be. It can't be. That's not capitalism. That's not the truth. When it comes to supply and demand, there's a rhyme and a reason why progress can be defined as your currency goes up in worth. Competition is involved. Risk is involved. Okay? There's market corrections if things ever get out of line that are involved. If you don't protect the criminals and make the innocent public take the hit, was what they did with the bailout of '08. All those foreclosures, so the people that were least culpable in these problems ended up losing their butts. They got a crew cut, okay, and a jagged crew cut at that, while the guys at the top, they were made well heels. They got a nice little trim to neaten things up a little bit. That's all they got. It was validated. It was legitimized by these sycophantic criminal politicos that did that approved that bailout against the will of over 90% of the people. And then we act like we're divided between blues and reds, Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals. God, I mean, how deluded are we? How stupid are we? Please, folks, get it. That's all. I'm just appealing to everybody to just get it, be empowered, and let it spread like yeast in the dough, man. And we, as Californians, can reverse the trend. We've been setting a really bad example for the rest of the country with the highest cost, some of the highest cost of living, the highest burden in the nation, highest homeless rates and all this. And we can turn it around and set a good example for everybody. But I'm telling you how it's got to be done. It's going to seem painful for some, and perception is reality. So if it seems painful, then when people see some price of something going down, okay, well, the people that have a stake in those prices being high are going to say, well, how in the hell is that good for me? Don't tell me that's good, okay? You see how deep down the rabbit hole we are, how much trouble we're in, but it's got to happen, okay? We've got to get through this thing. And my philosophy, economically, financially speaking, can't threaten anybody, no possible way. I'm in favor of everybody being born on God's terms. What are God's terms? Well, the planet is God's. We can establish that. We all believe in God, all liberals and conservatives, and Democrats and Republicans, right? The good ones, conservatives and liberals, and socialists and capitalists. We all believe in God. We're the good guys, right? So the planet belongs to God. So why can't it be seen that, since we're all God's children, that we all are born with wealth in the planet? Shares. You understand? So I don't think that's so far-fetched to evolve that direction. So this idea of a basic income suddenly doesn't sound so fanciful or stupid or liberal. In fact, it'd be fiscally conservative. I mean, if conservatives claim to like low taxes, I could lower your taxes dramatically through a basic income.